So there's just been a major update for Dubai schools. Schools will begin term 3 with 2 weeks of distance learning. But for many families, the real question now is, what does that actually mean if your family is still outside Dubai? And what are parents supposed to do, especially if online learning doesn't really work for their child? If you're trying to figure this out through school emails, WhatsApp groups, and at least 3 different versions of the same rumor, you're definitely not alone. Hi, I'm Hannah, and I help globally mobile families understand how international school systems actually work. So in this video, I want to break down what this announcement actually means and the main decisions families are now facing. So based on this update, here's what we now know. Schools will begin their term with 2 weeks of online learning, and the situation will be reviewed weekly. So this isn't necessarily a full-term decision, it's a short-term measure that could change. Schools may also request to return to in-person learning depending on the situation. But for parents, the reality is this. Many families now need to decide what to do over these next few weeks, especially if they're already outside Dubai or if online learning simply isn't practical. It may help to think about 3 main points families are now considering. Option number 1 is to stay enrolled and follow the school's plan. Some families will choose to stay enrolled and continue with online learning, especially since this is currently expected to be short-term 2-week period. This keeps the child fully connected to the school, the teachers, and the curriculum, which will make returning to the school easier when things all stabilize. Option number 2 is to withdraw for the rest of the term. For some parents, especially with younger children, online learning simply isn't practical. If a child is only engaging for short periods of time, like 15-30 minutes on the screen, some families say that continuing the term this way just doesn't make sense. In those cases, parents may consider withdrawing for the remainder of the term. But before making that decision, it's really important to speak directly with the school because in some schools, withdrawing means your child's place is then released and may not automatically be held for next academic year, especially if there's a waiting list at your school. Option number 3 is to continue learning somewhere else temporarily. Some families who left Dubai may now be staying in another country like Thailand or America for a period of time. And we're already seeing this happen. Some families are putting their kids into local schools abroad, sometimes with a bit of a language challenge, just to give them some structure for the next few weeks. Others may look at international schools where they're currently based. And some families may choose to do structured learning at home. So then you might be asking, what about homeschooling temporarily? Some parents may consider homeschooling for a short period, especially if they're traveling or if online learning simply doesn't work for their child. Plus, you get to save a little bit of tuition. Now, homeschooling is allowed in the UAE, but it is usually not completely unstructured. Most families follow some form of curriculum or learning plan. If a student later on re-enters the school will usually want to understand what kind of learning took place at home. Of course, that doesn't mean formal transcripts, but it can help to keep simple records like reading lists, math work, writing samples, or maybe even a basic learning log. Schools may review that, or they might do a light placement assessment when the student returns back to school. It's also worth noting that a child's UAE residency visa is tied to the parent's residency, not to an attending of a physical school. So families on family visas or golden visas do not typically lose residency when your child is temporarily not enrolled in a physical school. So that's something you don't need to worry about. Now you ask, what about the end of the year assessments? For students in British schools, many schools tend to run assessments like CAT 4 or GL progress tests towards the end of the year. These are school administered assessments rather than external exams, so students usually have to take them through their school. So if a student is temporarily homeschooling or they're moving schools, the new school will often simply administer their own assessments later to understand the student's level. And if you're homeschooling, you simply will have to skip those exams for this year. Of course, for major exam years, like the students who are taking the GCSEs, A levels, or the IB diploma, schools will usually communicate that directly with families because those involve external exam boards. So, if your family is currently outside Dubai and trying to decide what to do over these next few weeks, I think the most important thing is to understand the options that are available to you. Some families will stay enrolled and continue online, while some may withdraw for the term. Others may temporarily enroll elsewhere or structure their learning at home. The right decision really depends on your child, your current situation, and your school's specific policies. The most helpful step is to speak directly with your school and understand how your decision affects enrollment, assessments, and of course, returning next year. I'm so curious what families are actually deciding right now. Are you planning to stay enrolled or withdraw for a term or maybe try something temporarily? If this video helped clarify things, please consider subscribing. I share insights on how international school systems actually work for global mobile families. Because when you live globally, education works a little differently.